sexuality yourself. Would you like to touch a little bit on that before I
my rocky start
sexuality?
Well, specific to sexuality itself, the first sexual experience that I had in my childhood was when I was 6, being raped. And then the guy who ended up doing that to me inducted me into this cult group. And so I spent the next 13 years of my life until I was at age 19 being prostituted. I was impregnated several times, and those babies were intentionally aborted by the very man who basically, through rape, impregnated me with this. So my introduction into sex was, really terrible. But what you'll notice is that sexual trauma tends to divide women and men. It does its both, but let's just talk about women because that's who's in the room right now. Mm-hmm. It tends to polarize women towards either being completely asexual, wanting nothing to do with sexuality, wanting nothing to do with their bodies, or completely over-sexualized. And I was polarized, over-sexualized. So I never went through a period of time where it was like, I want nothing to do with that. More it became kind of my identity. Mm. So that's also unhealthy.
Yeah. You brought it back to, well, I'm assuming now, but you brought it back to a healthy.
Yeah. I feel like we're always in the process of that getting better and better and better. But yeah. It's gotten way healthy.
Yeah. Great.
Yeah, like I have boundaries now. It used to be the kind of thing where if a guy did anything nice for me, I was like, okay, we can sleep together.
Yeah.
I have no boundaries.
Yeah.
Wow. I'm like, I'm really surprised that I'm doing it.
So you, what would you give people like me, which I have a feeling there are a few of them, that would like to have sexual healthy relationships? And let me define a little of what I understand what a sexual healthy relationship is. Well, first of all, have a good relationship with my own body, feeling comfortable, feeling sexy, knowing that I can desire, that it's okay to desire sex, that it's okay to enjoy sex.
Which side did you go to?
I went to the other side.
Okay, so that's going to change the entire discourse.
Yeah.
Because people who went to that side when they were sexually abused needed an entirely different thing than the other people.
Yeah. Yes, and then in and of itself, the subject, I have a feeling that you can give us some information on, like, how do you perceive healthy sexuality and what is it for you, and how can we as a collective, like we as females, but also as a collective, how can we be on New Earth in sexuality? But those are a few questions.
Those few questions could make an entire book.
Your next book?
No.
Oh, okay.
I got so many that are in the lineup. Maybe I'll one day I'll do one sexuality.
Okay. What is healthy sexuality for you?
Well, for me, healthy sexuality is about authenticity. So it's a person's inside being aligned with their outside actions. Mm-hmm. So in fact, what's ironic is you can find somebody who sleeps with a lot of people on a surface level who might be in alignment.
Yeah. Okay.
It's provided that what their internal desire is matches the external desire. When we get into unhealthy, it's rarer. Okay, so I'll just tell you it's pretty rare. But hypothetically, you could be in alignment that way.
Yeah.
When we find unhealthy sexuality is when our bodies and our actions are doing something like having one-night stands, when the internal aspect of this is genuinely wanting connection.
Yeah.
So sex becomes manipulation. It becomes our way to get things or our way to avoid things. Mm-hmm. That's unhealthy sexuality.
Yeah.
And that is the majority of sex on the planet.
Yeah. And it's my mission to help to add to more healthiness, health, not healthiness, sorry. To more health in this perspective.
And people have to know what they want.
Exactly. Okay.
And so they have to act in accordance with that, and that's the hardest thing for women, especially. Because it's like, okay, what do you really want? Why do you want this kind of a relationship? Yeah. Most women, sex is kind of like a candy you give a guy to stay with you. Mm. It's a transaction for most women.
Yeah.
So we have to be honest with ourselves, what do we really want it to be about? If we have this negative relationship with sex, why is that? Why is it just something that you dole out for a guy? Like, is there something you can get out of it? Why not? I mean, the thing is, it's been a shame. We have got to stop making sexuality a shame, I'll tell you that. Because unless women are able to explore their own bodies and think about what they themselves want to get out of sex, there's no way in hell we're going to know what to tell a guy.
Yeah. Exactly.
We're not going to get anything out of it. It's going to be like, oh God, I either fake a headache or just so the guy stays with me. I'm going to do it. Like, that's going to be our life. So.
You talked about, yesterday I went to your workshop, which was amazing. And you talked about our body being an ecosystem. So we could literally like talk to one cell and of course parts of our bodies.
And each cell has sexuality.
Woohoo! Oh, okay. I want to know more about that. But first, I have another question. So when you look at our chakra system, the root chakra and the sacral chakra, I believe they're both connected to sexuality, if I'm please. Yeah. The color, the root is red, sacral is orange. Are there any types of foods, plant-based foods of course, that we could nourish those chakras with in order for ourselves, maybe even to get the feeling that we want to move towards healthy sexuality?
Hibiscus.
Woo! Yes, that's funny. It showed up so many times, hibiscus, and I couldn't figure out why, because that's how I get messages. Well, most people I think, but I'm aware of them. And I thought, what does hibiscus want with me? Okay, so hibiscus flower, like the drops and...
Any form of the hibiscus, what we're looking for when we heal is we want to get into the vibration or something. Mm-hmm. So naturally you can do that. The hibiscus flowers tend to be the very best for women to spend time around. Okay. Because if you look at the way that the female body is designed, the organ system that's designed for sex essentially is serving the same function as a flower on an organism is. Yeah. And so spending time with the vibration of the flower of that plant is going to be the most beneficial. You can get one for your home, you can sit in front of it, you can bathe in them, you can get teas in them. I mean, it doesn't matter what you choose to do.
I just got goosebumps, thank you. For me, that's always the truth when wow, thanks so much. Okay.
When it comes to boundaries, red raspberry is very, very good for sexuality. But what I notice is that raspberry does not inspire the same kind of connection with the opposite sex that hibiscus does. Hibiscus is very sexual in nature. Okay. But what red raspberry does is it really gets women in touch with their own truth. Yeah. Especially when it comes to their own womanhood. Because there's lots of different levels of truth. Yeah. But the truth about me relative to my own feminine, womanhood boundaries, what I want for myself, that type of stuff, that's red raspberry.
Okay. Great, thanks so much. I think one last question before you have a few. Yeah, which one? Do you believe? So let me first tell you my belief, because that's it. I have a feeling that we as women should play a leading role in helping heal the third dimension, fourth, I don't know, into healthy sexuality. What is your take on that?
I don't know how anybody could argue with you. But I feel like I'm a bit more aggressive on men than you are, it seems.
No, but please give me your...
I think that both sexes are equally responsible for the healing of sexuality on this planet, and I think part of what is going to enable women to come into our full power is men coming into their full power. Yeah. No, when I say that, some women are going to get it, because we associate power with, wait, men have been in power for thousands of years. No, hell no. You have never seen an empowered man, not once. You have seen what masculinity out of alignment looks like. In the third dimension, out of alignment masculinity looks like tyranny. Yeah. But if you have an empowered man, then what that man does is becomes a scaffolding for the unfolding of the feminine. Yeah. So I feel like both sexes play an absolutely integral role into the moving into health of both aspects of sexuality. So I'm going to require it of both. But if you're just going to be empowering women to not have to rely on men to come into a safe space of masculine energy in order to provide that scaffolding for us, yeah, women play a hell of a role. We always were healers, let's just be honest. Yeah. I mean, if you look at the way that our species has worked, it is the women that have been the healers. Yeah. Of course, we'd be the one that we're calling everybody into. Yeah. Like, come on, it's time. The time's come now. Yeah. Let's do it now. But a lot of us actually lack the bravery to do it ourselves. I've noticed.
No, but we're going for it. I have a lot of trust in that. And your completion process book, and the whole, is it something that we could use?
Should, absolutely.
Should use!
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
For this, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Well, definitely, I will go for it.
Yeah, in fact, using that completion process is the only way that I really realized how I was using it as a transaction. How I identified with it, when I identified with it, when I even made that change, like, because I was hypersexualized, so it was not until I started doing the completion process on myself that I remembered that moment that it was like, okay, I see how sexuality can be a modality of control. So, I mean, it's ironic. Look at the average guy, right? Let's just take the average man. Usually they go one of two ways. Either they become, so weak that they can't even function, or else they become perpetrators themselves when they've been hurt. Females who move into perpetration tend to be the hypersexualized kind. So we get abused sexually and we go, oh, that's how to get control. So we become the sexual aggressor. Or we go a completely opposite extreme. So it was until that moment that I realized, oh my gosh, I saw how sexuality was a modality of control, and I decided I'm never going to have anybody have control of me again. So I'm going to be the seductress. This is going to happen.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh my God, that was a complete, safety mechanism. It was not genuine to me at all. In fact, I was terrified of sex because in order to polarize so far, you have to suppress the opposite, right? So that's why I'm saying it's opposite things that people who are on your spectrum and my spectrum have to do, because you suppress the seductress and the one who's sexually out there.
She's coming back, by the way.
Really? See, what's coming back for me is the aspect of me that's like, no, I don't want to always dress in something fancy. I'd rather wear comfortable clothes. Or what's suppressing me is my fear. If you would have told me in my 17, 18 years, when I was at that age range, that I was afraid of men, I'd been like, oh, what are you talking about? I have no fear of men. Oh, I had suppressed every aspect of that. So it's about re-owning the aspect that we suppress.
Thank you so much. I'm going to give the word back to Patricia.
Are you fully?
Well, never. Maybe we could someday through Skype. Or thank you so much for
Thank you.
Okay, one